Welcome and good morning, everyone. Today's youth service is based on the real-life Christian Fellowship Evangelistic Church Patchwork Quilt. Quilts throughout African American history have been used to tell our cultures, triumphs, and struggles.
These quilts were used as a form of generational history. Without these items, entire family records may have been lost. These works of art are now displayed in museums across the county. Today, we will weave a living quilt, featuring stories and history from founding members as well as the mighty cloud of witnesses that planted the seeds that birthed our church. We will hear accounts recorded by our youth. Please open your ears as we bring these stones to life.
The CVEC youth are diving into the foundation of our church today for the Black History presentation. Some of the original seeds of our founding members go back from Mississippi through Georgia and the Carolinas. Our roots travel through North Illinois, Ohio, and up the East Coast. Our particularly crucial moment occurred one day in North Philadelphia during the 1960s.
Hello. Good afternoon. My name is Elder Harris. God has spoken to me and has told me to tell you that you are a special young man. He has a special plan for your life. And I think that you should follow me.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Elder Harris was born June 5th, 1913, and is remembered for being a strong preacher. He had a desire for helping people and always did the best he could. Some of the lasting cornerstones of his legacy are: he was very dependable, good father, good husband, a good worker who loved God's word. He never stopped trying to help people. He was always sacrificing himself for others. He always taught about his life as a youth. He was always very open about his life. He had his ways of telling stories. Some of his funny highlights would be bus trips, some of the mothers and fathers who were in the ministry. He was always laughing at people who were overweight. He would say squinch instead of quench, not the spirit. Lord, what's a Bible club? He knocked on Pastor O's door one day with a whole bunch of kids. This moment, as you have just seen, helped to plant the seed in our Pastor Outerbridge. I am Elder Harris's great granddaughter.
This is a summary of an interview I conducted with my grandfather. As you can imagine, if this were recorded on camera, it would have been a must-see for TV. For today, we will offer a summary for the sake of time. As a child, Elder Outerbridge recalled his grandmother reading to him from a red book. All the grandchildren at his home would be sitting at her knees as she read from the book with a terrible picture of the devil. He was white and had spider webs, and that scared them. This was how they were taught about Jesus. She was the first one who took them to the Methodist church. And we were told to sit in the back of the church, and we were given broken Bibles and could not take communion. Elder Donald Outerbridge credits Dallas Ford, Elder Harris, Harold B. Hayes, John W. Lewis for pouring into him during his upbringing. Also, L.B. Gregory, regarded by pastor as a very great man. And also, Elder Nelson Miller. Please note that there was way more that was discussed during this interview, but for the sake of time and the flow of edits has been made, transcripts will be available upon request.
Now I'm going to talk about civil rights. Okay. Key moments that were carried throughout interviews were the assassination of John F. Kennedy and Martin Luther. Scars from the riots during the Civil Rights Movement, when Martin Luther King Jr. was killed. Stores were burned in major shopping areas in North Philadelphia and still have yet to recover. Our own pastor emphasized the fact that they take a yellow Benny during the riots. Other moments that were recalled were Southern church burnings and a bombing that killed 4 little girls attending. Current members actually lived through segregation, including white and black drinking fountains. Pastor Otterbridge shared the story of Bishop W. Strobar, whom was very light-skinned during the Civil Rights Movement. He would actually be one to order food at the food counter and drive the other pastors who were dark-skinned on their trips to help minimize harassment. It was the bishop who imparted that you should always dress up while traveling because whites will accept you better while traveling. Discrimination was a theme that even was experienced to this day based upon skin tone, with common theme of not being black enough for fellow blacks but being too black for whites. Thankfully, CFAC attempts to be a place of inclusion.
All right, that's good.
Faith and friendships. The scripture is often quoted, "And a little child shall lead them." This was quite true during an evangelism effort by the Christian Fellowship Youth Ministry. From one visit by Mother Felder's son Glenn, God drew her and her extended family. Many members' connection in this community predates the arrival of CFAC. These members shared the history of this building that sparked the record and preserved this information for generations to come. Prior to our church arriving at this location, the building served as a bakery, daycare center, and disco pool hall. Some stated that they were drawn by friendships and even funerals. The direct style of preaching caused them to stay. CFAC has long been a place that encourages the growth of young people, including some family members. Pastor Bowden was preaching at the age of 16. She credits Elder Otterbridge to be even greater than the expectations she had for herself. Other youth at the time were encouraged to usher, sing, praise dance, nurse, rub backs.
That'll be me.
The youth who were with the elders at CFAC were received a very real lesson in faith and witnessed the miracles God performed. Christian Fellowship has a common thread of comfort, love, and acceptance that runs throughout each of the interviews with members. From being drawn in through the invitation of a family member or friend or paramours, ask Pastor what that means.
What's that? What does paramour mean? I didn't hear it.
Paramours.
Go on, baby. Paramore.
Oh, paramour.
No.
I'll tell you after service.
All right, let's go, Michelle. All right. We're gonna do auditions. We got just a shade. Our youth were able to do these interviews and find out information they never knew before. A real striking moment is the fact that you just heard about Elder Harris, who is actually one of Jackie's grandparents, her grandfather. We just noticed, and it blew Layla's mind, that Jackie was born on her grandfather's birthday. But as we're reading the paperwork, you're looking and you go, wait, June 5th, we know June 5th. Who else has a birthday on June? Oh, wow, she was born on her grandfather's birthday. So the fact that we're all learning this information and having these conversations with the young people, and the fact that they want to go ahead and do this again in coming months to try to get some of that information and retain it so it's not lost one day, that is something that really struck a chord with them.
That's good.
So what we're going to do right now, because so many people were referenced during the time of us doing these interviews, we're going to actually do an African libation ceremony. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's basically a moment in time where you reflect on ancestors, you reflect on, for this sake of this activity, we're going to reflect on people who are currently living and those who have passed on, where you speak the name of people who have poured into your life, people who have encouraged you, people who continue to encourage you to this day. And it's a way to keep their names alive and moving and surrounding us. So as we say a name, we will pour the water into the plant, and everyone's response would be Ashe, which means I agree, it is so. So as we pour, we're going to say Ashe. And there's no order to this. As a name strikes you, go ahead and say the name, and we're going to begin now. We can start with a name that came up a lot, Bishop A.J. Pyatt. Ashe. Also, Bishop John W. Lewis. Ashe. Elder Jefferson Branch. Ashe. Elder George Wilson. Ashe. Elder Carl Brown. Ashe. Elder Donald Outerbridge Sr. Ashe. Oh, I still want to hear names.
Oh, any names for you? Velma Ashe. Ashe. Claudia Jackson. Ashe. 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 Myrtle Dixon. Ashe. Derek Plant. Ashe. Lenore Williams. Ashe. Chickenberg. Earl Washington. Ashe. Robert Spencer. Ashe.
John Outerbridge.
Ashe. Marvin Gaskins. Ashe.
Randy Oliver.
Ashe.
Esther Lewis.
Ashe. Ashe. Octavia Lewis. Ashe.
Carl Hayes.
Ashe.
Myra Rouse and Jimmy Rouse.
Ashe. 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 Deacon Anderson. Ashe.